Hello everyone, and we are going to talk about multi-step inequalities today. And we're going to start by comparing our steps for solving equations with our steps for solving inequalities. In both cases, we distribute first, then we combine our like terms, usually using a T-chart. Then you move the variable term to the left. So if your variable is on the right, or if you have variables on both sides, you're going to move it to the left side by using an inverse operation. Then you are going to eliminate the constant and isolate the variable. The next step with multi-step inequalities is to graph the solution set. With an equation, you come up with a solution that we then check, but with an inequality, we're going to come up with a solution set, and we're going to show you how to graph it. There's something really important you need to remember, and that is that when both expressions of an inequality, that means everything on the left and everything on the right of that inequality symbol, when both expressions of an inequality are multiplied or divided by a negative number, the inequality sign reverses. The inequality sign flips. Okay? Well, let's start with an example. First thing we're going to do is check for distribution. I don't see any parentheses, so that means we don't have to distribute this time. But I do see that we need to combine like terms. So before I get going, I'm going to go ahead and draw my line down. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and make myself a T-chart over here. And I know I've got X's and I know I've got numbers. So I'm going to combine my like terms. Let's start with that first term, negative 5x. The second one is a positive 2x. And the third one is a positive 3. So use Desmos always to check. Negative 5x plus 2x is negative 3x. And you bring the plus 3 down. So I have combined my like terms. So I bring this up. Negative 3x plus 3 is less than or equal to 12. Just like with equations, you only combine like terms on one side of the equal sign or the inequality symbol in this case at a time. You never bring that 12 over into your combining like terms. Okay? So the next thing we're going to do is move the variable term to the left. Well, there are no variables on the right, and the variable is already on the left, so we're good. We always want it on the left, especially for solving inequalities. Next, we're going to eliminate the constant. So the constant is a positive 3. So we're going to subtract 3 from both sides, which means you draw a line. Bring down negative 3x is less than or equal to, and 12 minus 3 gives you 9. Always use Desmos to check, please. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to isolate the variable. Notice that in front of the variable you have a negative 3 that's being multiplied by that x, which means the only way to get rid of that is to divide each side by negative 3. But remember the important point. When you divide or multiply both sides by a negative 3, that means your inequality flips. So I'm going to bring down my x, then I'm going to flip my inequality, then I'll do 9 divided by negative 3 is negative 3. Okay, so now let me show you how to graph that solution set. First of all, you're going to just draw a small little line, a number line with arrows on each end, and a 0 right in the middle. Okay, you always want the 0 there so you have an idea of what's positive and what's negative. Well, up here, we came up with a negative 3. So that's the only other thing that I need on this number line, and we know negatives are to the left of 0. Now, this says greater than or equal to. If it's equal to, you need a filled in circle. If it were not equal to, it would be open. And then you're going to go in the direction that the inequality is pointing. If you see that, you see this. So this means that -3 and every number larger than -3 is a solution to this inequality. So that's the solution set. All right, let's go ahead and try another one. First thing we're going to do is say, do we have to distribute? As a matter of fact, we do. I see parentheses. They're only on one side, so let's go ahead and do that. So 2 times x is 2x, and 2 times a -5 is a -10. You always want to make sure that when you distribute, you are distributing across both numbers. There could even be more numbers than that in parentheses. So make sure you're multiplying across all numbers. 2 times x and 2 times -5 is -10. Bring down my greater than or equal to -6. Okay, so we did that. We don't have to combine like terms anymore because you have one term with an x and one term with numbers, so we're good with that. And there's no variable on the right, so we don't have to move that. Now we're going to eliminate that constant. So if that's a -10, inverse of that to make it a 0 pair is +10. Draw my line because I had the same thing on both sides. 2x comes down, greater than or equal to, and -6 plus 10 is 4. Make sure to use Desmos. Now we already eliminated the constant. Let's isolate the variable. So we've got a 2 in front of that x, and it's being multiplied. So we're going to divide each side by 2. Draw a line because we've got a calculation to do. 2 divided by 2 is 1, so that leaves us an x. We did not divide or multiply by a negative, so our inequality stays the same direction. And 4 divided by 2 is 2. Now, let's graph the solution set. Like we told you, just a small line, arrows at both ends, and the 0. Now look at that 2. That 2 is to the right of the 0. We just want to know where it is. It is greater than or equal to, so if it's equal to, it's a closed circle, and of course my solutions go the same way my inequality points. So that means that 2 and everything greater than 2 is a solution to this inequality. All right, let's go and find one more example. Here it is. This one says we're going to distribute if there's parentheses, but I don't see any. Do you? Nope. So we're going to check that off. Combining like terms. Well, on the left, there's a term with a number and a term with a variable. So that's already combined. Then on the right side, there's a term with a variable and a term with a number. So we don't have to combine like terms there either. Because when you're doing distribution and combining like terms, you look at one side separate from the other, both equations and inequalities. Now, move the variable term to the left. Okay, I can do that. Well, I'm going to start by putting it in a box. Remember our old delivery truck driver? He can only add or subtract. Since that's a positive 8x, we're going to subtract 8x from each side, and I'm going to make sure to line up those variables. Put a line in. Actually, I might have to erase that and erase a little bit of my line because I got a little bit carried away there. All right. Let's start by bringing down the 21. Then I'm going to look at this carefully. It is a positive 2 minus 8x. So again, please check in Desmos. So you've got 21 minus 6x is greater than, and don't leave that negative behind. It's a -15 because the 8x and the -8x make a 0 pair, and you've got to bring down the negative with the 15. The next thing we're going to do is eliminate the constant, which in this case is a positive 21. So that means we're subtracting 21 on both sides. So my -6x drops. Don't forget the negative, very important. Greater than, And negative 15 minus 21 is negative 36. Okay? Alrighty. Now we have to isolate the variable. Well, what's in front of that variable? A negative 6 is being multiplied. So to isolate it, we have to divide each side by a negative. And remember, when you divide each side by a negative, your inequality has to flip. So negative 6 divided by negative 6 is 1. So we're going to write x. Then we're going to flip the inequality. Less than 6. Because negative 36 divided by negative 6 is 6. Again, please check with Desmos. Here's my 0. When we're drafting a solution set, we always have a 0 there, so we have some perspective as to where our positive and negatives are. This is x is less than 6, and it's not equal to, so that means we need a 6 down here, and we need an open circle, and of course the arrow goes the same way the inequality points. So this means that every number smaller than 6 is a solution or is part of the solution set, but 6 is not. That's why we have an open circle. Okay? You are going to be great at this. I just know it.